Hello, 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 y bendición. Welcome to Pero Who Am I? A podcast about self discovery and the life of a modern day Latina with your host, Lisa Marie. If you have been thinking about starting a podcast or your current podcast needs a little help, I have the solution for you. Today's show is brought to you by Idea to Launch Academy, the only multicultural podcast academy that to date has helped launch over 500 podcasts. Anyone can launch a podcast, but it takes work and a solid foundation to have a profitable and successful podcast that will stand out from the rest. You can Google how to start a podcast and publish it, but then crickets. Who's going to listen? Pero Who Am I is a direct product of Idea to Launch Academy. Coach Carla Ramirez was with me side by side, giving me consultations, letting me know what to do, and showing me the ropes on how to have a successful podcast that you are now listening to. Carla Ramirez is the CEO and founder of Idea to Launch and has put together a course that will help you take your podcast from idea to launch in 30 days with her proven 5 phase formula that has helped her reach over 100,000 downloads in less than a year without any social media presence or any tech background. You learn how to come up and refine your podcast topic, artwork, recording, editing, marketing, and so much more. Also, when you are part of the course, you become part of a community of podcasters that all help and inspire each other. Use the link in my description to enroll in the Launch Your Podcast in 30 Days 2.0 and let them know I sent you. And while you're there, get the Instagram 101 crash course for free. Enrollment is now open. Hey guys, so it's been a while. Oh my God, I think it's been what, 3, 4 months? No, it's been just a little bit over 5 months that I had to take a break and I had to focus on what was in front of me and take care of everyday life before I can give my all to this podcast the way you guys all deserve. So I want to thank you guys for sticking by me and listening. And those of you that reached out to me on Instagram, I'm okay. Everything is okay. I am content. I am happy. Life is great. I cannot complain. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off today's episode. So we're going to start with the Spanish lesson of the day. And today's Spanish lesson of the day is going to be just a kind of like a Puerto Rican slang expression. And I don't want to say specifically Puerto Rican because I've heard my Dominican side of the family say it as well. But the phrase is más vale tarde que nunca. And that means better late than never. So thought that that was perfect for today's episode. Is just, better late than not doing it at all. So más vale tarde que nunca. And that's going to bring me to my next segment of my Dear Diary. And for those of you, if this is the first time listening, I normally will break my show into 3 or 4 different segments. With my relaunch, I have decided that we're going to stick to 3 segments. They'll kind of vary depending on the topic, depending on the episode. We will always have a Spanish lesson of the day, and we will always have a Dear Diary segment. Dear Diary segment is where I kind of just pour out what's going on, things that I've learned, things that are happening. As you all know, this podcast is a journey for me of my everyday life and just things that are happening, things that I'm learning along the way, and me discovering myself. So this segment for Dear Diary is going to be just kind of a catch up, kind of get you guys caught up to what's been going on, how life has been, why I needed to take a break from the podcast and kind of just focus on what was going on at the moment. And also a reminder that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So, it's perfect for me because it's part of the reason why I had to take a break, why I had to take a step back. So just for starters, when I last spoke to you guys, I was in the middle of planning my wedding. And for those of you that follow me on Instagram, I did get married January 2nd. I married my best friend, the love of my life. I couldn't be happier. It was perfect. Anything that could go wrong didn't. everything that could go right did. I got to experience such an incredible day. The only thing that did go wrong was that I did not have someone record my wedding ceremony, which now I look back at it and it's one of those things that I would have loved to have had the ceremony on video so that I can look back at it. But how many times do you actually look back at videos? It's one of those things that I kick myself in the ass for it, but at the same time, I'm like, I have my Sweet 16 video, and I think I looked at it like the first year after religiously all the time. But then after that, I think I looked at some of it recently, and that's because we were planning my niece's quince, her quinceañera. So yeah, so that's the only bad thing I think from the wedding. Other than that, it was beautiful. I had all my bridesmaids by my side, my groomsmen. The saying of those that will be there for you will be there for you, and they were. I cannot complain at all. I'm very, very grateful. The night was beautiful. I had family and friends come from different parts of the area. I would have loved to have had my Jersey family and, his Jersey family come down. I would have loved to have had, other friends and family invited. We were limited by space, but also limited because of COVID. And so I had 103, I think it was about 106 people in total show up to my wedding. And by the grace of God, thankfully, not a single person got sick. We did have some precautions in place where there were temperature checks at the to enter the church. There were mass required in the ceremonies area, but not for the reception. And then we did try it as much as possible. A lot of the tables were spread out. And if they weren't spread out, the tables sat 10 people. You maybe had eight, maybe seven people at your table just to give that little bit of social distance as much as possible. And like I said, by the grace of God, not a single person got sick. Not that I was told of, nothing like that. I've heard nothing but great things about the wedding, and that was awesome. And then I got to take a family moon. We didn't do a honeymoon because again, COVID, and just the limitations of what we could and couldn't do. I didn't want to kick off my honeymoon and be limited as to how I could celebrate, my union with my husband. So what we did was we did a family moon and we went to Tennessee, which is a trip that my family plans every year. Some years we've got 30, 40 of us going. Other years there's only 10, 15 people. And for some people that's 10, 15 people is a lot. For me, it's really not. I mean, you think about it, put my sisters and my nieces and nephews together and their spouses, and there's 30 of us right there. So, but nonetheless, it was an awesome experience. Being able to celebrate my union with my husband, with my family, my kids. I It was awesome. We had moonshine tours, winery tours. We got to, just relax and enjoy each other's company, even with the family around. It was beautiful. And then after that, it was time to focus on my house, focus on getting ourselves prepared, last minute things that came up. I warn you, if you're in the process of buying a house, research, research, research. Make sure that you are well versed in what you are doing, what you are signing. And if you're not sure, question. Question anyone and everyone in the process. There were a couple things that came up that we just weren't sure that that was the right way to do it. And we questioned it, and I'm glad we did. One of the major things was our home was custom built. So a lot of the details in this house, we got to choose. We got to choose the color on the wall, what kind of floor we have, what kind of counters, what our cabinets look like. And we even got to choose like the tile in our bathroom. So, when you're custom building something, you kind of have an expectation of how everything is going to look. And you also have an expectation of customer service. And that was one of the things that I'm not going to say was lacking, but the communication wasn't 100%. So I'm the type that I'm going to keep nagging and I'm going to keep calling and I'm going to show up because I didn't spend $5, $10. And even if I did spend $5, $10, like this is my hard earned money and, my husband and I's hard earned money. So we were constantly questioning things, and it was a good thing because there was an error, a couple errors that were done, and luckily we were able to catch them in time. And it did not delay us from being able to close, but with COVID, things did get delayed. Manufacturers are not making things as quickly as they used to. Inspections are not being done as fast as they used to be. So, it kind of did put a little bit of a damper on things. But in the end, we closed on our house April 27th. So, just a little bit, almost a month that we've been in our home and just slowly getting things back together. We combined two households. So, my house, my apartment, and my husband's house when he was living in his own home. He had put everything in storage when he moved in with me. And so just now going through all of that has been a test of patience because in speaking of mental health awareness, I have really bad anxiety and I'm learning how to cope with it. It's not as easy. I could always do the medicated route and take the medications, and I'm sure that would help calm my nerves. My problem with that is one, I have issues remembering to take medications, and it's not intentionally. It's just I forget. Honestly, I forget, and I think that's also part of my ADHD, which I have been diagnosed as having ADHD as an adult, and so you combine that with anxiety and it's just not the easiest thing to deal with. And if you've got any tips or tricks on how you're dealing with it, let me know. I'm all for it. And so, just having boxes everywhere and wanting to see my vision come to life as how I want my house to look has definitely caused my anxiety to flare up. But one day at a time is what my husband tells me every day. He says, "Babe, one day at a time, one box at a time." So that's what we're doing. That's how I'm doing. That's what's been working for me, and it's all I can do. So one of the reasons why I took a break, aside from the wedding and my house, I took a break from the podcast world because I found myself being overly influenced by social media, by other podcasters, and not necessarily like overly influenced, more like I was jumping in so deep that I was losing and forgetting myself in the process. And I could see my depression flaring up. And it was just hard. It was hard because I wanted to be involved as much as possible, but at the same time it was like I was doubting myself and I wasn't producing the content that I wanted. I wasn't seeing the results that I wanted because I was comparing myself to others. And taking this break has helped me realize that I need to focus on myself. I need to take time for myself. And at the same time, I've started setting goals that I want to accomplish within the next couple months. I've got a couple short term goals like going to school, I'm looking to get my real estate license. So, those are kind of short term goals for me because this house buying process taught me a lot. And I definitely want to teach others and work with them as they go through the process of home building. But at the same time, I want to get paid for it. So, with that said, that's, short term goals. And then long term goals, I want to retire by a certain age. I want to, and not necessarily retire because I'm always going to work. I can't sit still. But I want to stop clocking in at a 9 to 5 and 8 to 5 job and work for myself, because for me that motivates me more, because if I don't work I don't get paid. But it's like it's kind of hard because it's one of those things that if I don't work and I don't push myself to work to make the potential that I know I am capable of making, then I'm not going to get paid. Whereas working 9 to 5, I clock in at 8:30 every day. I clock out at 5 p.m. every day. I go into work and I'm doing not always the exact same thing, but I know what my day is going to look like. So it's not a motivation for me. It's not a moving factor of wanting to make more money. And honestly, right now I can't. I'm kind of stuck. So some of my long-term goals is to quit the 9 to 5 job and pursue additional sources of income and have secondary and third tertiary, is that what the word is? Don't laugh at me, I think it's tertiary, um sources of income. And like I told my husband, because he's older than me, I told him, I said, babe, when you retire I'm retiring with you. And he looked at me, he goes, but you're young, you're not going to be able to retire. I was like, that's okay. I don't need the social security. I don't need the 401k cash out. No, we're going to be having our money saved. So that way, when he does retire, I can retire with him and we can travel the world and, pursue all the dreams that we couldn't do while we're working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So that's basically where I'm at. I focused on getting married, having the wedding of my dreams. I focused on closing on my home with my husband and my kids, and then setting out goals, setting out journeys that I plan on traveling to complete me, to make me happy. There are lessons that I've learned the last couple months, things that I've learned about myself that I just cannot wait to share with you all. And just, I can't wait. This journey that I have embarked on myself is going to be amazing. And I hope that you guys are by my side through it all. There are things in the works that are going to be happening in the future that I cannot wait to share with you. And that is that's where life is today. That's where Lisa Marie is at today. And with that, that is going to bring me to my next segment of the show. And this is the part that's going to alternate on a weekly basis, depending on the outline of the show, depending on the guest, the topic. This week, we're going to have Palabras de la Semana. And what I like to do each week when I end my show is to end the show with some words of affirmation, some inspirational words, something that I have either saw randomly or something that was said to me. It's just, just a little quote to keep you guys motivated, keep you going. This week's palabra de la semana is going to be, don't feel guilty for doing what's best for you. Well, mi gente, that's all I have for you this week. If you like what you heard on this week's episode, please be sure to take a moment to rate and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. You never know. I just might go ahead and start reading some of those reviews on a future episode. Also, don't forget to hit the follow button to be notified when a new episode drops. Bye. Well, mi gente, that's all for this week. If you liked what you heard on this week's episode, please be sure to take a moment to rate and leave a review on Apple iTunes. And don't forget, while you're there, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you'll be notified when a new episode drops.